Welcome to Checkpoint Real Talk, a podcast for security folks who want less FUD and more FUN. In each episode, we'll have lighthearted conversations about security, people, processes, and technology as we react to how they're portrayed in film and TV. We'll bring in experts from inside and outside Checkpoint to break it down. What was accurate? What wasn't? And what can you apply to real-world cyber events? The Good Doctor, Season 4, Episode 10, Decrypt. And now, let's get to the real talk. Hey guys, welcome back to Checkpoint Real Talk. And today we are going to review a TV show that I've actually never seen before, but I was told adamantly that we must glow over this. So Diana, welcome back.
Great to be here. Great to see you again, Sia, and you, Dmitry.
Dmitry in the house.
Hello.
Oh, you poor thing. I know we tried to prep you for this, but let's just go ahead and really introduce you to our wonderful world. First off, how are you familiar with the TV show The Good Doctor, Dmitry?
I've heard of it. I know some of the actors from the West Wing times, but I haven't seen it.
Diana?
I've watched every episode. But I watched it long after it aired and then just watched them all at once on Netflix. There's a couple reasons why I recommended this. Is there's some things I met Dmitry in the past. For viewers who don't know, I met him in the past, and there was something that came up. He talked about how something like 40% of people in IT are neurodivergent. In The Good Doctor, the primary doctor here is autistic. However, in this episode, I chose an episode that mostly centers around the IT department and the people involved when the hospital gets hacked and they have to deal with ransomware. Now, those people are actually not neurodivergent, but there's a reason why I first started that. I went there for a number of reasons and then found a good episode.
Convergence of topics.
Right, exactly.
No, I love it. Okay, I think that right there is speaking for itself. So you guys ready to jump in?
Sure.
Absolutely.
All right. So let's go ahead and look at this clip here.
We got a problem.
If it's only one problem, it'll make me extraordinarily happy.
No, it won't. They actually hacked into the network over 3 months ago. Took their time to not only encrypt our servers, but our on-site and cloud-based backups.
Well, don't we have backups, data?
Actually, we have 3, which get rotated out every 30 days, which means the oldest backup we have was synced 4 days after the bastard's broken.
And we have no data?
Technically, we still have data. We just can't access it without their encryption key. You can't pay the ransom. You don't negotiate with terrorists.
Well, what I can't do is pay an exorbitant amount of money to an insurance company and then not use them.
They gave us 24 hours to get the Bitcoin. If I can find a mistake in their encryption software, I might be able to get our data back. Of course, I'll also have to retrace the attack chain to find the exact door they came in. Otherwise, we might as well toss every computer we have in the recycle bin.
Oh my gosh, you guys.
Oh, there's so many things here to comment on. You've got the like if this director of the hospital has only one thing to worry about, and how long something can be sitting there, like any kind of malware can be sitting on your computer, the attack chain. I don't know.
I was just distracted by the pretty colors in that room. I mean, if that's a data room, he's the director of the hospital, right? That's the doctor.
That he's the director. That's not the doctor I was talking about, but he's the director of the hospital.
Why does he have access to the data center?
Why is he near the data center?
But that's his director of IT who's with him. Would he be able to get in? Would he be able to get in if he was with
Director of IT would. Oh, but it looked like he just came in on his own. So I don't know if that's the kind of. So there's a lot of questions around the specific configuration of that environment. I also love how they don't interrupt each other when they talk. That's very real. What do you mean? Would be the first question. He's very calm about it too.
Yeah, he is unusually calm for someone. He's like, oh, well, nonchalantly, well, let's just pay them. Like, is it really that simple that you can save your whole hospital if you just pay them?
First of all, yes. it might be cheaper, faster, smoother to pay them.
Okay.
But he mentioned something that I found interesting. He said, we're paying all this money to the insurance company. So you're supposed to have cyber insurance, right? And most cyber insurance companies should have. And if you, for example, don't know this, you should reach out to your cyber insurance company and find out. They have negotiators. So at a minimum, they could lower the amount.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they could lower the amount of ransom that you would need to pay. Hey, look, these guys are not doing too well. Look, it's a hospital. How much money do you think they're making? They can't pay you $5 million. They just can't. They don't have the money. Look, how about just $1 million? All right, you come down to like 2.5, and now you're already saved $2.5 million. While you're negotiating, by the way, it's going to take like 3 weeks. She's got time to try and crack that encryption software and find a back door and something, blah, 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 right? There's...
Mm-hmm. But then would you still pay them? Because she's saying if I can get to this within this amount of time, she's not worried about just saving the data. She's also worrying about saving them the money.
So what's not happening here is the assessment of the impact. So I'm assuming they already done the tabletop exercises. They know what this means. Otherwise, he should be asking.
Right, and you're going to see a scene coming up where there's something there's some of that. There's something medical that happens, and then they can't. So the malware that I don't know what kind of malware this is, but it caused them to have to break into some of their equipment to save a life. So like lives are at stake here.
Exactly. So if lives are at stake, that's a very different conversation. If you're Colonial Pipeline and you're just pumping some oil back and forth, maybe you don't pay. Although those guys paid, I don't know if you knew that or not, they paid $5 million, and the encryption keys provided took longer to decrypt than restoring from backups.
Ugh. I did not. I did not know that.
I did not know they paid, and B, they're lucky the damn encryption key was able to work. Like half the time, that stuff doesn't even work.
But in their case, it worked slower than if they simply would have restored from backups.
Oh
and most of the money. Another note to remember: as soon as this occurs, contact the FBI, because in Colonial Pipeline's case, at least half the money they paid, they were able to retrieve back. Possibly even more. So you contact them just for example, to help with the payment. And final piece, whether you pay or not for what you're doing is one thing, but if you're paying and the organization you're paying to is on a terrorist watch list, now you're committing a federal crime. And so you also
wait a minute. So if you pay ransomware, if you, as to say, I am the director of this hospital and I pay this hacker who's a terrorist, then now I'm a terrorist?
That you are supporting terrorism.
Yeah. Oh. Well, think about where that money goes. They're not doing it because they want to be like Robin Hood and be like, I'm going to go feed some, villages.
So not having a good backups, for example, which is a failure of its own, now leads you to become a supporter of terrorism. That's not cool.
Oh, right. And that's also why some CISOs get fired, right? Because you're like, you didn't think you didn't check your backups and everything. You got hacked.
CISOs get fired primarily to use as a scapegoat.
Yeah.
I see.
It is a thankless
job. They usually don't actually do any. They usually haven't actually created any problems. It was just inevitable, and they're the scapegoat.
Getting fired is better than going to prison.
Oh, okay.
And we have one going now, so that's 30.
Okay, I want to keep talking about that, but I know it's going to digress. So, I mean, let's look at the next clip here.
Please tell
me. And of course, someone would do it in the nick of time like that, right?
No, but I'm authorizing it.
Turn your computer on. Your employee ID is your temp password.
Who knows their employee ID number?
I remotely rebooted every authorized
But can you remotely reboot every single user?
100% successfully. Imaging's unscathed, no malware, no worm, no nothing. Bastards were obviously bluffing, just like I told you.
You gambled your entire imaging department on a hunch? You have any idea how reckless that was?
Is that like a lawyer?
Appreciate all you've done.
Yeah, he is a lawyer.
That decision was not yours to make. If you ever usurp my authority again, I'm going to fire you right on the spot.
Now that's more realistic, right?
I think that one.
Shush for a second. Wait for the compliment.
But don't do it again.
Thank you. Well done.
You're welcome.
If I ever have another poker night, you're invited.
Aw.
You'll need to take all 3 of these every morning and before bedtime.
This might have been the lady where they had to break something to save her.
Anything.
But I'm not quite sure.
Thank you.
I'm just going to say it, very young doctor, or I'm getting old.
They usually tend to have young, attractive people as the doctors on these shows. See?
And big open windows.
Oh, and this guy is the good doctor.
You can't just leave. I've never been fired before, but I'm pretty sure that's how it works.
I'll talk to Lim. Convince her to give you a second
I
chance.
do not think she'll do that. She was willing to fire you, and she likes you a lot more than her.
It's okay.
And who's she?
Enjoyed working with you both.
Who are these girls?
They're other doctors. One of them just took the blame for something that she didn't actually do. But she doesn't actually want to be a doctor, so it's okay. No, but you want to see this for a second.
I'll miss you, but I don't want to hug you.
Okay, I just thought you would like that end when he doesn't want to hug her.
That's a nice little. Again, I have family members that are neurodivergent. I myself, I pretty much am undiagnosed, but I related to that moment right there. I mean, you could feel that he felt something, and he's like, "But I'm just not going to do it."
Yeah, it's an honest moment. He was being honest about what he can or cannot do. And I'm with the director, by the way. Why is she running? Why can't she call the office?
I was wondering that. That's why I interjected right there. I'm like, does she have to run?
Yeah, like 10 minutes, and you can just
call.
Pick up
because you have to see her running through the hospital halls. Like, yeah, because when someone, I know a whole lot of IT directors who are real sports enthusiasts who run through the hallways. Just joking.
Yeah, no,
they usually don't.
Yeah, I mean, okay, I was just going to ask you, was there a scene right before where she's trying to call and he's not picking up his phone? Because then that amps up
there's not. So I'm like, okay, would you ever see, Dmitry, would you ever see if something like this is happening, like the head of IT just like really doing everything hands-on, one person by themselves, and then running through the hall to meet the security person and the lawyer, I mean the head of whatever and the lawyer?
Yeah, nothing like this ever happens. And I mean, maybe she was running because she just felt so guilty she couldn't do it over the phone. What she did was illegal. She shouldn't have done what she's done, despite saving the hospital. That's one of the biggest things. And he was
What was illegal about it? What exactly should she have done, and what did she do that was questionable here?
Right. She used his authority, his logins, I'm assuming, to do something, reset, reboot, whatever. Right.
I think she baited them, right, with his credentials to see if they would. Exactly. She called their bluff.
She called their bluff, and she used his credentials to do that.
Yeah.
How can I put this? That's a resume generating event for any security professional. You've done everything wrong in that particular case, literally everything wrong, and I'm only hoping that it wasn't just a hunch. I'm hoping that she somehow did some analysis somewhere and realized these guys were actually not doing what they said they were doing. And so she was actually not hunching, but really sure, like 94% sure that this was correct course of action. And maybe she just didn't have time to explain all that. And after all that, I still think she should have called and explained this before taking the action, because the ultimate responsibility was his. Because if she was wrong, it wasn't her. It was him who was going to get in trouble and potentially go to prison. And so she should have checked with him.
I see. And would she have a team? You wouldn't have one person just going through and finding all the lost data and dealing with a hacker.
I know, it's a hospital. How much money do they have?
Yeah.
Well, they have a lot of fancy machines, so I'm guessing a lot of money.
No, am I being loud? Sorry. I was trying to clear my throat here.
Not for security.
Security,
okay.
I think, is often overlooked. Like it's almost like you got like a 1 or 2 person team, and then there's like this huge IT department, right? So I don't know. I don't think it was entirely inaccurate, but I'm just wondering: is she the security person or is she the IT person? Like I don't know the TV show.
She's really the IT person, so I'm not even sure that she would be in charge of security.
Sounds like they don't even have a security team, which is actually more accurate.
Which is probably more
okay.
This is the problem with security in general. Sia, you've probably seen this in some of the conversations we've had in the past. Security is considered an offshoot of IT. Yeah. It's just another IT function that protects us. Where in reality, security is to IT what IT is to business.
Mm-hmm.
It reduces complexity. It speeds things up. It makes sure to protect the business from making mistakes, or in this case, IT from making mistakes. For example, having a backup that is only 3 months long and doesn't rotate past that point.
I will say I was impressed to even mention that portion of that scene.
They tried.
Earlier.
They
tried.
Right. They assumed like, okay, how much budget do we have? Okay, what can we really pay for? All right, only 3 months of backups. I mean, it's a hospital. How bad can it be?
Well,
I'm not even asking about like, okay, let's say she did restore from backups from 4 months ago. What happened in the last 4 months? No one went to the hospital. No one got sick, and no one got life-changing, or like whose surgery is going to happen tomorrow?
Well, I'd like my medical bills take it. Like in America, medical bills can very, very expensive, and this is America, so
3 months. It's a quarter, right? That's a quarter of a year. It's
but then that seems like, what if something like that did happen where someone just hacked? Because like we were talking before about how governments can hack hospitals, but sometimes you might have someone who has malicious intent, who's not the government or a terrorist or whoever else. It's just someone who's angry and has hacking skills. Like, let's destroy all the data because I don't want any hospital bills.
A lot of the pacemakers have Bluetooth or some other communication channel enabled. I mean, when you become a VP or president and you have a remote controlled pacemaker, they fix it for you so that you can't be killed with a Bluetooth rifle.
Oh, wow.
Okay, I never thought of that, and now my mind is a little bit blown. I just
now I'm going to
think about that.
That is going to be my fixation later on today.
So you know how like Bluetooth devices, you're like 2 meters away from each other, like headphones, like, all right, tops like 10 meters, really good ones, 10 meters long. So if you take a Pringle scan, and do some special modifications that you can just get like in what used to be a Radio Shack, you can reach out up to a mile or up to 8 miles with clear line of sight. And you think, I'm secure. I got Bluetooth. I'm not really worried about the guy down the street. That guy can read everything you're doing and potentially even impact. So, yeah.
Right. That's why I'm seeing a lot of product security companies popping up these days.
It's a niche that everyone's trying to fill. Look, they have one lady doing IT and security in this big and expensive hospital. I mean, of course, we need more vendors, not more resources at the places where people are working.
All right, on that note, guys, let us check out the next video clip here.
Stay back, or you're gonna contaminate my clean room. I found an error. Not theirs, ours. The serial numbers on the servers didn't match up. Turns out one of my techs spilled coffee on a server, didn't want to tell me, so he switched it out 3 days before the hack. His screw up might just save our ass.
So she does have help.
So it's not encrypted?
No, but it is corrupted from the coffee and dust and dirt. I found it under a pile of junk in the recycling bin. But if my patient pulls through, I'll be able to restore the network without having to pay the hackers a dime.
Wow, that's great.
The insurance guy came to an agreement with the hackers, didn't he?
Actually, he negotiated them down below the original ransom amount. I didn't authorize it yet. You have till 9 a.m. to get us back online.
Okay.
Okay.
Wow, so much wrong in there.
Right. So let's hear it, because that is way beyond my pay grade.
So serial numbers. She's got time to go compare serial numbers? A. B. That drive that, let's say, had coffee on it, they just threw in the recycle bin. There's a process to decommission hardware that if you don't follow, just like that, someone could buy a recycled drive at home, clean it out, and find a whole lot of PHI, in this case, on that drive. Mm-hmm. Did you know that, well, at least used to be, used hard drives were more expensive on eBay than new ones?
Yeah. There's a shortage, right? I thought that was a few years back.
People were buying them to find maybe credit card information, maybe personal information, and so on. Mm-hmm. But let's keep going with that scene. So let me get this straight. That one hard drive, just that one hard drive, had all of the information from the whole network, because it can't have like just a little bit, enough to decrypt the rest of the network and every hard drive in the environment. Like, what would it have? Maybe a portion of the encryption key?
Why wouldn't it be decrypted on the hard drive? Wouldn't it have?
Well, so
she says it's not encrypted.
Correct. That one drive on one server. Mm-hmm. Are we talking about the large hospital operating all of its data and it's on a single drive now?
No way. Yeah.
Like I mean.
No, when I was in film school, I didn't even keep all my information on one drive. Not even my information was only on one drive.
One imaging system, like a CAT scan or something, would produce enough images, like in a week, to fill up 10 hard drives. What are we talking about here? Where did she get so much plastic, and what's she going to do with it afterwards? And why is she sitting there with a mask? What is she going to...
Well, she said she's also operating on the patient, and we're in a hospital, and now the hard drive's the patient. I guess just to make us laugh.
I mean, I think it's trying to emphasize the fact that she's going into a computer's bowel.
And why didn't she lock the door?
No.
And she says not to contaminate the patient. Like, what would his walking into the room? How would that contaminate a hard drive?
So she had it open, and if it's an old hard drive, the spinning hard drive that had like magnetic plates, think of like records, old school records. Right. And if dust gets on them, the head might have issues reading off of them. But of course, that whole room is dust proof and clean. Oh, wait, it's not. It's just a hospital office. Oh, and they stopped using the hard drives like that a while back. Again, I'm hoping this is a fairly recent show, so probably solid state drives.
It's maybe 10 years old, and I don't think anything's...
Oh, okay. So, all right, fine. Maybe that's one plausible thing in that whole... But her hair is not covered, but her face is, right?
Yeah, so I was just going to say her hair is all over the place. Yeah, no. I mean, and then when he opened the door, the breeze just came in, and you saw the tarp kind of like flowing in the wind, and then he stayed open. I'm like, yeah, it's done. It's corrupted.
And they have clean rooms in that hospital. I guarantee you, they have clean rooms with controlled airflow and suits that she could have. They could have totally done a better scene with that shot. But you know what? Budgets are kind of low in whatever show this is.
Well, again,
a good doctor.
Yeah.
Again, is she IT or is she security? Like she's by herself.
She's IT.
And then on top of that, like the lights for dramatic effect, like
dark lights. It's very easy to see.
So, okay, on a scale of 1 to 10 of accuracy, guys, probably should have been asking for others, but on a scale of 1 to 10 for this particular scene, where do we want to rate this one?
-4. No, sorry, I will give it a 4 because what he said was pretty accurate. Negotiating down, this is what we talked about earlier. Negotiating down the insurance amount, ransom amount, and the insurance guy was able to get it done.
That taught me something there. I didn't know that you could have that a company would hire a security insurance person separate from the security people, and that they would be able to negotiate almost like lawyers or mediators there.
They're
I had no idea.
Yeah, they're available on retainer, and you're gonna laugh, or maybe not, but they have fairly good working relationships with the hackers and the people doing ransom.
Well, I imagine a lot of careers have sprung out of people who are hackers, like very good careers. A lot of them work for cybersecurity companies, military, police officers. Some of them now are CEOs of cybersecurity companies.
I'm talking about, so like, let's say this person who was in a suit, he on a weekly basis has sync calls with the hackers. Hey, John, how's it going this week? Who did you encrypt? And he gives them a list. He goes, all right, let me give them a call and see if they need any negotiating done. And it's
almost like the mafia's bartender.
That's really what it is. Although I'm going to give him benefit of the doubt and say that it is it's like remember the scene from Heat where De Niro is sitting across from Al Pacino and there's like, the cop and the robber are having this honest cup of coffee conversation. I think that's what it's like. They don't like each other and they know they work on the opposite side, but hey,
how do we make this pleasant? Like, how do you make it as palatable as possible?
How do we both make our buck and live to fight another day?
Yeah. No. Oh, it's in fact, it's funny you should mention that. I had a client that did an interview with a company that does exactly that. And I was just like mind blown. I didn't even realize it existed. So yeah, no, Diana, I'm right there with you. It's a cottage industry, and as a net result, it is booming.
Dark lights again.
All the dramatic blue lighting.
No one in the hospital. Everyone left. A restore.
Here they are. Here they come.
I love how she's by herself. Ain't no one wants to be there for her.
So I had pictures. I saw pictures recently of surgeons doing a surgery in Ukraine with lights off, with flashlights. This place has lights, has air conditioning, has heat. Doctors can save people without computers. That is a thing that used to happen for a while before there were computers. Why is the hospital empty? Where did everyone go?
I was just going to say, where are the nurses?
Where did they move everyone?
No, I don't know. I think that they might have moved them somewhere else. But
where? It's 24 hours. Like, this is a 24-hour thing, right? She had 24 hours. They would have not even been finished moving even if they started now. So let's call that. Number 2. She's sitting in a data room. Again, let's assume that's the case. You see those the cases where the equipment was supposed to be standing? So first of all, they're fairly narrow. That the rack is usually wider, but let's even say that's the case. The panel on each of those cases costs almost like $500-$600. The side panels, they're special steel and stuff. So it makes sense to put 3 of them together to save on the panels. To put all 6 of them in a single row to save on like 9 panels or whatever the number is. This is a hospital saving every penny. Obviously, they're saving on lights. She's sitting in the dark, but they have space for a panel for these for the servers. I mean, for the empty space. Next, restore from backup, taking under 5 minutes for the company, for the whole hospital. Look,
would it really be labeled that explicitly? Restore from backup. So, wouldn't it just be a bunch of numbers? And
I'm gonna try and do this in the way that like Mythbusters does it. Okay, what would it need to look like in real life? So let's say she found this hard drive. Let's say that on this hard drive she found a backup. Let's go like the best case possible. This is where they also stored backups, and it is an archived form, so it's compressed. So she has this very large hard drive, big enough to store a compressed backup of all of the data for the whole hospital, including, if I'm seeing this correctly, operating system packages for all of the systems to which then rolled it back out, which is what we're seeing when she does the restore. That's not was it 10 seconds, 15 seconds to unpack that thing? And even if it was, then we're taking time for that to roll back out to all of the systems.
Okay, it's dramatic effect, yeah? I mean, can we agree? Dramatic effect, that assuming that kind of backup, like, performance can be done.
Yes.
I'm still trying to get over that comment you made about running. Like, why don't you just call the person and be like,
especially now that everything is working again. If you really
we want to see the lights go slowly on, and we want to see her. We want to see what's going on in her mind. Like, you know how impatient you can get when you're waiting for someone to pick up and you have important news? Like, I don't think on a TV show like this you can see her impatience. You could show it.
Or how about she's calling and running? So then you got logic and she's running and you got your dramatic effect.
Right, exactly. She's backing up her control with another control.
Look, so if I direct this in the future, if I go back and I step in and I was like, I want to direct this, I need to make her call and run. She needs to be carrying the phone.
This would have been a good Scrubs episode. I'm not sure. This show is trying to be slightly more professional than Scrubs, I think.
I hope so. I love Scrubs though.
Right. Well,
it's actually I watched this show called Dr. Mike, who reviews this hospital show a lot. And normally with the hospital episodes, he says, you know, this ranks like maybe 8 or 9 as far as hospital shows go. It's in the top 10 of the ones that of the accuracy. Now, of the hacking, it seems like they're pretty inaccurate, but the way they do medicine, they're pretty good at that part.
Your dog agrees.
You hear?
Yeah,
that's okay.
She definitely. Actually, it sounds like she disagrees. She's pretty upset about it.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I said it. All right, sorry. My bad.
So no one paid anyone to
now because ever since that time where during Corona where that weatherman's babies were coming in, now people got to where they're like they really like it. They're like,
please.
He got really famous after his babies were like came into the screen during that time. You remember that?
Oh, I totally remember that.
That was bad.
That wasn't a weatherman. That was a financial analyst.
Oh,
I thought
yeah. And that was his wife, right? And then everyone was like, yeah, that's his. Like that was pretty funny.
Yeah, there's some stuff to unpack there.
Yeah, no, for sure. But no, it's very. You know what? I just loved all the parodies. Like, I don't know if you guys saw that one where this woman's like roasting a turkey. And
I like that.
Doing laundry. I love that. The Good Doctor, Leah being a hacker for 2.5 minutes. Okay.
Just basically a bunch of hacker things. Let's see how well she does this.
Yeah. Which is weird because before she joined this job, the backstory is that she worked as I think she was working more of as a developer. Like they're not necessarily hackers.
Okay.
We gotta have this conversation of what a hacker is and what a developer is.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So let's go ahead and play it.
Your Chronicle subscription is about to expire because they don't have your updated credit card. The coffee maker you ordered, their new one in the last 6 months will be delivered Tuesday, and you're deducting way too much money out of Debbie's paycheck for FICA. Would you like to hear about your Google searches? I'm just busy trying to keep like 1 billion bots and hackers out of our network. They gave us 24 hours to get the Bitcoin. If I can find a mistake in their encryption software, I might be able to get our data back. Of course, I'll also have to retrace the attack chain to find the exact door they came in. Otherwise, we might as well toss every computer we have in the recycle bin.
Just a lecture.
Give me the time I asked for to decrypt the data and restore the network. If my patient pulls through, I'll be able to restore the network without having to pay the hackers a dime. I fixed the server. It's still missing the last 96 days of records, but it's totally malware free, which means we can restore the network with 3 hours to spare. If I'm right, I'd save the whole hospital and prevent some really bad people from getting almost $2 million.
How big is this hospital?
It's a good question.
It's supposed to be a major hospital in a big city.
Okay,
it's in the San Francisco area.
I mean, they've got rows and racks. Just saying. those look old to me.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. But a hospital might have really old monitors because they might, for the assistants, they probably wouldn't back up that. They probably wouldn't give them new monitors.
I remotely rebooted every authorized user, totally, 100% successfully. Imaging's unscathed, no malware, no worm, no nothing. Let me have your phone.
Why?
I've created a couple hundred Yelp accounts to trash Tricky and maxed out on my IP address, so I need another one. I had to route the downloads through proxy and print at different nurses' stations to stay untraceable.
I mean, that would be a little bit scary having to work with someone who can do all of that, or particularly to be in a relationship with someone who can do all that.
They're dating?
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
With who? Which one? With which?
The doctor and her. It happens. The young autistic doctor. It happens slowly over time, and
See,
there's
that
a
I
lot
could
of complications.
see. She probably has her own
quirks.
How did you call it? Personality. She has her own unique personality, and so does he. So they might.
Right. They kind of actually that kind of reminds me of something. I did visit a therapist recently and said, let's start the process of getting evaluated for something. And then I told her that I suspect that I have ADHD and that maybe you might want to look at autism, like maybe Asperger's, kind of a high functioning, because of how well I get along with IT people who seem to have those issues. She's like, well, she said, actually, I have a lot of clients who come in where we're partners, where one is on the spectrum and the other one has ADHD because they balance each other out. And there's some conflict. I'm like, oh, they have some conflict over time, but a lot of it is that their strengths and weaknesses are like polar opposite.
So
they're helping each other.
And she needs some help, I think, because
she's all over the place and kind of like impulsive.
Speaking of the very first scene, she walks in. I'm assuming she says, "You need me," and he says, "No, I don't. I have IT department," or something like that. I'm guessing, and then she starts giving him that information about.
Mm-hmm.
So that should have been the first red flag for the director. It reminds me of The Suits now, where. Like, she shouldn't have access to that data. If she has access to that data, so like, let's look at it. Speaking of hackers, now there are three like major ways to break hackers down, or maybe more specifically, break down what types of things hackers do: white hackers, gray hackers, and black hackers. Black hat, white hat, and gray hat. It initially meant the level of information you know about the environment you're trying to test. We're talking about hackers on a job, right? Like if you're a hacker and you've been hired to penetration test someone, you can be either given all of the information about the company. This is called a white hat penetration test. You can be given some information, gray hat penetration test, and then no information, black hat penetration test. So this describes the amount of information you have on the way in. Mm-hmm. Or at least it didn't describe in the past whether you were malicious or not. But
interesting.
If I'm talking to someone, let's say a white or gray hat penetration test, even a black hat penetration test, and it's something that's usually described in the rules of engagement, an official document describing exactly what a penetration test is supposed to cover and what it definitely shouldn't touch. In there, you talk about things like if you have access to some information, don't use that access. You will, let's assume, breach something and get into a database. It doesn't mean you should be reading the data. Maybe you take one piece of record just to prove that you were able to, or better yet, plant a piece of record so you don't actually read anything at all. You just leave something there. The fact that she's able to read back to him a number of things, from financial records to purchasing history, which I'm assuming Amazon, so then she's somehow breaking into encryption configuration. So she's somehow she was able to get all that information. I don't know of a way she can get a combination of information without hacking, either as a
proactively.
Proactively, right? It's not.
Well, she says like, you need me to protect you, but like
she might be right, but
protect you from me. It's like with the mafia around here where I live, they do that to businesses.
Right. She should have came with, look, if I just click this button, I'm going to be able to see all the payments you're making to your employees. I didn't click this button, but I could have. I could have read everything you've bought on Amazon, but I didn't. I didn't click this button, but I got real close. Here you go. Here's evidence, right? That's an ethical hacker approach. I could have, but I didn't. And even if you tell me no, I'm not going to. My job is to tell you have a vulnerability. My job is to show you how I was able to get to this point. But unless it accidentally pops up on my screen, I shouldn't be clicking button knowing it's going to give me a piece of data.
Right. So then this goes back to the point where she was talking about, I think she said the attack. She was also talking about, she is compulsive. But before she was talking about the attack chain. Now in cybersecurity, like in my role, we write a lot about the cyber attack kill chain. Now there are all of these different steps that they have to get before they can do the big attack. So I think Dmitry was talking about this, then that she could have gone to any of those steps without going to the last one.
Correct. Many, and say, look, I was able to gain access to an account that will have all this available information to them. I didn't use it. But you should consider what a less scrupulous individual would have done. She is that less scrupulous individual in the very first scene of the show, and he still hires her and gives her all the access.
Yeah.
Now, what all is well that ends well. I guess he looked in her eyes and was able to tell right then and there that she's an honest person that only happened to steal some information to prove her point.
Or maybe because like she's the girlfriend of his friend, and it's like, okay, well, she's a little bit of a wild card, but I've known her for a long time, so
which
she's
is why
not
I asked how
bad.
big this hospital is.
Yeah,
because it's not just that he's protecting his own or not protecting his own practice. He's got thousands of patients whose lives he's responsible for.
Right.
So it's a good show, but that scene alone tells me that the rest of the show is unrealistic.
At least from a technology perspective. I mean, look, if anyone even tried to do something like that, they'd be fired up. Like you say, a resume generating event, like activity, period. I think you guys, we have talked our ears off. Dmitry, it has been such a pleasure chatting with you on this episode and just hearing your insights and thoughts. Is there anything you'd like to have share parting words with us before we let you go?
It's been a pleasure for me as well, ladies. It's been great talking about technology, hackers, hospitals, and neurodivergency. I love teaching. I love talking about this stuff, so this is good. Just come and learn more from us at Audience First Academy. I think that's probably the biggest takeaway that we're trying to push for everyone. You know what I just realized a couple days ago? What selling? I love selling, but I don't like selling small things. I don't like selling hardware, software, tools. What I like selling is knowledge. So selling knowledge, if I can sell knowledge to you, what's that called? Teaching. That's what it is, right? Okay. If you can sell information to people, if you can sell the idea that it's useful and important, if I sell you on it, I just taught you something. So that's what we do at Audience First. Come and learn about cybersecurity. Come and learn about cybersecurity vendors and how to be a better one.
And I can vouch for Dmitry's course and his ability to deliver information. I was one of his students for his introductory course. And as soon as I have the budget or someone to pay for me, I'm going to take his next course at a higher level because I really want to learn more about CISOs and people like what Dmitry do every day.
And see me in a llama sweater.
And I want to see Dmitry in a llama sweater.
Ooh. Now
actually, if you bring a llama to class, I am there, and I will just empty out my bank account. You know?
Just pull on the llama, just put it right there. Just stay
yeah.
put. Now that's awesome. Well, thank you so very much, everyone, for your time. Dmitry, thank you so much for joining. Diana, as always. And of course, thank you very much for joining us, guys. This is Checkpoint Real Talk.
That's a wrap on today's episode of Checkpoint Real Talk. If you like this video, hit that subscribe button and some of those other buttons to show us your appreciation. And if you want to learn more or have any questions, please let us know in the comments. We'll see you next time for another episode of Checkpoint Real Talk.